Seems like 61's that magic number. 19-0.
Yeah. So hopefully, we can get enough pace to the games to be able to get over 61 when we're undefeated. But I think anybody that really watches college basketball realizes it's an epidemic out there. Every game, especially in the Big East. And we got to do our best to get people off of Sean Kilpatrick, not let people hold and grab him. That's been a problem for us, and we got to do a better job of screening for him. He's got to do a better job of getting himself open, and you got to make officials call fouls by not allowing things to happen. We got to have more offensive toughness. I think if we do that, we'll get more free throws. And if you look at our wins in the Big East, we've made more free throws than our opponents have attempted. And you can't let people just take away what you're trying to do, and you got to make sure you're getting what you want on every possession.
Is that a matter of just attacking more, you think, or is that not?
No, that's too much of a generality.
Yeah.
I love you, but that's,
Right.
You're watching way too many announcers. If you're an NBA player being interviewed, you say, I got to be aggressive. So you're really supposed to use aggressive, not attacking. I think it's more technical than that. You got to execute, you got to screen, you got to pass better, you got to play with more strength with what you're trying to do on and off the ball. But to be honest, alleviating all that would be to be a swarming defensive team that creates open court opportunities and more possessions, to where the game can get looser and our speed and athleticism becomes more of a factor instead of playing in rock fights, which people don't want to watch, but that seems to be what it is every night when you turn on the TV.
Let me ask you, you talked about this last week about how a lot of teams have trouble scoring, which you just said again, but is this hurting the game? Is it hard to watch some of these games? I mean, I know this isn't paramount on your radar screen,
I mean,
I
don't watch games as a fan.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm looking at it from a strategy standpoint, but I can tell by the questions that I constantly get. I haven't been at a press conference or on a radio interview on a national station in over a month where the question about lack of scoring in college basketball and the physicality of the game hasn't come up at some point. So, I think it's definitely got to be addressed. I don't think there's any doubt about it.
And is that the main reason, the physicality? You think you said the officials, the way they're calling
when you limit when you limit the movement of players with physical grabbing, holding, or bumping, or both, it's going to limit scoring. I mean, there's just no two ways around it. It's going to limit scoring. The more contact you allow the defense, the more it's going to limit the scoring opportunities of both teams. I'm not talking about Cincinnati. Right. We're talking in general about, I think, every game you watch out there. And then what happens is, I think there's no doubt that it's to the benefit of the less athletic team, or the lesser of the two teams that would be playing, the lesser skilled team. It's going to give them an advantage the more physical the game becomes, and the fewer possessions. I mean, that's the oldest adage in the book, is to try to shorten the game, make the game more physical, give yourself more of an advantage or a chance to win the game.
So what's the solution? Do the officials just need to be schooled on how to call these games? And if you call everything, everybody be going to the line all the time.
I think in my conversations with the people that would be in power, it would be a painful. The NBA went through it when they eliminated hand checking, and everybody complained about, we don't want to see all these fouls. All the NBA so-called experts on all the 24-hour stations complained, but it was better for the game because it got to a point where nobody ever scored 100 points, and now it's back to where they wanted it. But I think so in talking to the people, especially in the Big East, that the answer is it would be a painful process, because there'd be a ton of fouls.
Right.
And it could take a while, but eventually, obviously, players would adjust, coaches would adjust, teams would adjust. But it would be a painful process in the meantime.
So just enforce the rules. It's not necessarily change the rules, but enforce them?
No, it just is, contact's a foul.
Right.
Holding, grabbing, bumping, so it's a foul.
Right.
It would change, and it would be painful because you'd see games with a ton of fouls. And you have some experts that complained every time when this was going on, and defensive officials when all the fouls are being called.
Right.
Now you have everybody complaining last year, Syracuse versus Ohio State in the Elite Eight game. Everybody's complaining about the refs called too many fouls. Well, the players committed too many fouls.
Right.
Not the officials didn't call too many fouls. They just called the game.
Right.
And there was a lot of negative publicity from the announcers on that game to people commentating on that game after that game. But at the end of the day, you got to call the game, and guys are going to have to adjust. But it would be painful. I don't see it happening. But that's why you got to get to the NCAA tournament, because usually the games are officiated much more closely in the NCAA tournament.
And obviously, coaches are telling their players they're not going to call it, so just go ahead and do it.
Well, it's just as a player, you see what's being called, what's not being called. So you adjust during the game. What you'll see in the NCAA tournament, there is somebody in charge. Who's not in charge during the regular season, because the conferences are in charge, but they're not, because the officials are independent contractors. And who you're going to get if you get rid of them? They don't really have to listen to you. But in the NCAA tournament, John Adams is in charge. And if you want to advance, you're going to call the games the way he wants them called. You're going to control the coaches, sportsmanlike conduct, and you're going to call. You're going to call fouls as they're read by the rule book. Right. So I think the NCAA tournament definitely is officiated differently than the regular season, and rightly so. I just wish that he was in charge of the entire season. Right. If we had a central governing body, you would see it. But that's been a long-standing problem in college basketball, guys. People don't know that out there, that there is no director of officials for the NCAA for the regular season. That has power.
UConn, I watched some announcers too. When they beat Syracuse, they were talking about how they're kind of like a wounded animal. They can't go to the postseason, and so every game is like. Do they play like that? Does that mean anything?
I'm oblivious to it. I evaluate them based on their merits. They have two. Really, Omar Calhoun's playing well. They're a perimeter-oriented team that has great skill in guard play. And you got to make sure you keep those guys under control. They don't have great depth, so I think that affects them at times. But they seem to be playing with like they are going to the postseason. To me, I haven't watched one film where I said, "Boy, they look disengaged or disinterested or not committed to their program," which is a credit to Kevin Ollie and their coach, and to the character of their players, their leadership of their team, like Shabazz Napier, and that those guys really have. You wouldn't know it just from watching them. That they're not eligible for the postseason. You
had to coach like that, I guess, your first 2 years, because you knew you probably weren't going to the postseason because of talent. I mean, is it hard to keep players interested like that?
Well, kids can love playing in a competitive nature, and which, as a coach, what you got to try to enforce is that you're trying to lay a foundation for your program. And, obviously it's Kevin Ollie's first year, so he's trying to make sure that he keeps those guys focused on togetherness. And pride in who they are in UConn basketball, and keep their mind off the fact that they can't play in the postseason. And he's obviously done a great job of that. I've never been in that situation where you actually, no matter what you do, you have no chance. So I'm sure it's a tough one, but obviously he's handled it really well.
Their style of play any different under him than it was under Calhoun?
I would say no. I just think their personnel is different.
Yeah.
From my time coaching against UConn, they were always a big team. Last year they had Andre Drummond, who plays for the Pistons, and Alex Oriaki, who starts at the 5 from Missouri. They've been big and strong and dominant all through Hasheem Thabit and Jeff Adrian. Now they're a finesse team. It's just a personnel thing, and he's obviously had to make those adjustments.
Does it make any difference where you play them? Whether you play them in Stores or you play them in Hartford, the building?
Not really. I would say obviously Stores are probably a little bit tougher because it's more compact. I would say of the wins that we've had here in the Big East, that's top 5. Winning at Gamble last year, you were there, so you understand what I'm saying. Bigger arena, theoretically it would be not quite as tough with the people on top of you, but at the end of the day, you got to play the game.
Nick, defensively, you've got a lot of production from the bigs. Offensively, do you need a little bit more from them to take some of this pressure? Some of the guards here late in games.
No, I think our guards need to play better down the stretch. Our best players. You know, down the stretch we had Cash had a turnover, SK had a shooting turnover, and Park had a shooting turnover. We had a turnover, an air ball, and a bank three. And we got to execute better down the stretch, and got to coach them up better and get better in practice, working on late game situations, make sure we're getting open shots or getting to the free throw line. With the game on the line, you can't have a turnover and you can't have tough challenge three-point shots. That's not a recipe for success. We got to make sure that we rectify that, because every game's going to be close.
How much of a problem is free throw shooting for you? I mean, you've been better in the Big East than you were in the postseason statistically. Do you consider that a weakness?
Depends who's shooting a free throw.
What is a team?
It depends who's shooting a free throw, because it's really not a team thing. One guy shoots them. So if SK shoots all of our free throws, I like our chances at the free throw. And Cash, I like our chances.
So why don't you just coach so they get to shoot all the free throws?
Yeah, that'd be great. If they could get offensive rebounds and get fouled around the rim, you know, your bigger guys are the ones tend to get fouled. Shaq's been really improved. It's been Jaquan has struggled obviously, and Justin. So those are the two guys that are struggling. Really Titus, which is really you know, I maybe first year guy up there in tough situations that he's maybe not used to, because he makes them in practice.
You guys have had a lot of big wins on the road, you know, in the last few years. How much can a road trip like this, particularly when you're away for both games, kind of help spark that type of run that you're looking for? Can it, or?
You know, it all depends on if you win.
Yeah.
You know, right now, hopefully our veteran guys understand this is why you practiced. This is why you played all those other games. To get to March, it's time to do what we got to do to solidify our position in March, and try to go on a run. All those other games become really irrelevant. You can erase a lot of close losses. You can erase a lot of mistakes if you can get to the big dance and go on a run. And that's the beauty of college basketball. And you got to make sure, as a coach, you got to try to make sure your players understand that. That's the key. Whether the games are at home or on the road, I think we got to understand that we can't look back and, you know, wow, you know, this could have been or this should have been. It really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Especially this year. If there's ever a year where the NCAA tournament's going to be a jumbled mess, it's going to be this year. So we got to do what we got to do to get in the tournament. And continue to try to improve. And, you know, this is my message to our guys is, you know, for our seniors, this is it. You know, this is your experience. Hopefully I'll have many more, but this is about our seniors, and got to try to make the most of it. And this is what you've worked so hard for, and you got to go out and play like you have nothing to lose. And you know, you got to play every game like that. You can't go out playing stressful. Oh gosh, this, or, you know, and you can't go out there in a coma. You know, you got to go out there and be the most passionate team out there. I think that's what you're going to see. Whoever bonds here late gets focused are the teams that are going to go on runs.